Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer, brought to you by UPSC Zone AI. Today we're unpacking a truly fascinating news cycle, one that's completely defined by massive systemic disruptions, but also by incredible human resilience. You know, we live in this wild world where a single day can bring us cutting-edge technological breakthroughs right alongside the echoes of centuries-old conflicts. So we're going to connect the dots between these seemingly isolated events.
Here is our roadmap for the day. We've got 5 main stops. First, youth activism against the CBSE. Second, political shifts happening in India. Third, some major economic updates on oil and gaming. Fourth, global tensions and unrest. And finally, an amazing story of coastal resilience in Tamil Nadu. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. Youth activism against CBSE, where Gen Z is stepping up and demanding accountability. We're starting with a remarkable story of disruption, where 3 teenagers actually forced a massive national institution to admit its flaws.
To really understand the real-world fallout here, picture over 1,500 people, including Ladakh activist Sonam Wangchuk, gathering at Jantar Mantar to protest a completely botched exam marking system. And it started in such a Gen Z way. It began online as the Cockroach Junta Party, a movement built on AI-generated visuals by founder Abhijit Dipke. But it didn't stay online. It spilled right into the streets of New Delhi, with young people literally wearing cockroach masks and demanding immediate accountability for the recent exam fiascos.
So, the crucial point is how this trio, Vedant, Nisarga, and Sarthak, used their digital fluency to absolutely blow the lid off the CBSE's on-screen marking fiasco. It's kind of crazy. Vedant was actually trolled and labeled anti-national just for pointing out that he received a stranger's physics paper. Then you have Nisarga, a 19-year-old ethical hacker who exposed critical data vulnerabilities. And get this, he was later invited by an IIT expert team to help fix them. Meanwhile, Sarthak dug through dense public documents to allege vendor favoritism, becoming what is likely the youngest person ever to depose before a parliamentary panel.
I absolutely love this quote from Nisarga because it hits the nail right on the head. It perfectly captures the fearless mindset driving this new wave of activism. These aren't just angry teenagers complaining. They are digitally native investigators who are demanding transparency from systems that, up until now, operated completely behind closed doors.
All right, moving to Section 2, political shifts in India, rebellions, and new movements. We are shifting from youth activism into the adult world of systemic disruption, where major political tectonic plates are moving and reshaping regional power dynamics.
Looking at these developments impartially, we are witnessing 2 massive, contrasting shakeups. On one side, there's a severe internal legislative rebellion within the Trinamool Congress in West Bengal. You've got 58 out of 80 MLAs backing Ritabrata Banerjee for leader of the opposition, which directly defies Mamata Banerjee's choice following some serious allegations of forged signatures. That is a massive internal crisis for a party that's held power for 15 years. Now, contrasted with that, down in Tamil Nadu, Annamalai has completely quit his post as the BJP state president to launch an entirely new political force aiming for clean, constructive politics. His movement saw a staggering 10 lakh plus registrations on its very first day. So 2 different states, but 2 absolutely massive disruptions to the political status quo.
Section 3. Economic updates on oil and gaming. Let's talk about some massive market shakeups.
Shifting gears to the economy. As the crisis in West Asia drags on, India's reliance on Russian oil has surged right back up. By volume, it now makes up 34% of India's crude imports, completely dwarfing reliance on U.S. oil, which just fell to an 8-month low. But, and this is a big but, the financial terms of this geopolitical trade have shifted dramatically.
Now, what's really interesting is this staggering number, 425%. That is the massive jump in the premium Russia is suddenly charging India. In just a single month, it spiked from about $15 to nearly $78 per ton. So those days of steep discounts, yeah, they are fading into a very costly premium, driving India's total oil import bill up by over 60% in 1 month to a whopping $15.4 billion.
Meanwhile, domestically, the Supreme Court has fundamentally disrupted the multi-billion-dollar online real money gaming industry. Through 2 sweeping judgments, the court has completely, and I mean completely, altered the landscape for online betting and gaming platforms. To really get why the court ruled this way, we have to understand this legal definition. The gaming industry argued, hey, you can't tax the full face value of a bet if it's a game of skill. But the court essentially said, actually, scratch that. Once you put money on an uncertain outcome, it becomes an actionable claim. Because of that, the distinction doesn't matter for taxes. Therefore, the entire face value of the bets, not just the small platform fee, is subject to a flat 28% GST.
These rulings absolutely validate strict state curbs and hefty taxes. The court pointedly noted that digital payment gateways have essentially turned every single smartphone into a virtual gambling house, framing this as a major public order issue. Industry experts are now sounding the alarm, warning that this could lead to a wave of insolvency proceedings, mostly because the retrospective tax demands are vastly higher than the total revenues these companies have ever actually earned.
Section 4. Global Tensions and Unrest, where we see the echoes of conflict. We're zooming out to the international stage, where historical and modern conflicts are violently boiling over. This sand-battered behemoth overlooking the Litani River has suddenly found itself caught right in the middle of a severe military escalation. Beaufort Castle, with its completely unobstructed view of northern Israel and the Bekaa Valley, has been thrust forcefully back into the center of the Israel-Lebanon conflict. And honestly, the history here is just staggering. For nearly a millennium, empires and armies have fought over this exact same patch of dirt. It was built by crusaders in the 1100s, taken by Saladin, used by the PLO in the 70s, occupied and then abandoned by Israel in 2000, and now facing strikes once again. It's a sobering, tangible reminder of how geography literally dictates conflict across centuries.
Shifting our focus to the unrest in the UK, we really have to ask, what sparked the recent intense, violent clashes between far-right protesters and the police in Southampton?
Reporting impartially on this, the unrest stems from a deeply horrific tragedy, the murder of 18-year-old Henry Nowak. Tensions exploded when footage showed a delayed and dismissive police response to the dying victim. He was actually handcuffed while bleeding, which was heavily contrasted with the seemingly courteous treatment of his attacker. This ignited fierce political debates. Hard-right figures are alleging two-tiered policing, claiming softer treatment for racial minorities, a claim that the government and police strongly reject, insisting on absolute equality before the law. Meanwhile, Sikh community leaders have firmly distanced themselves from the attacker, condemning the murder and explicitly noting that the weapon used was not a traditional religious kirpan, but just a large knife.
Finally, Section 5, Coastal Resilience in Tamil Nadu, a daily ritual of survival.
After looking at all these massive global disruptions, I want to ground us with a visually stunning, incredibly human story of endurance from the coastal village of Ar, Pudubattanam. Every single day, under a scorching 40°C sun, these women walk barefoot for kilometers to harvest naturally filtered fresh water from shallow pits dug right on the salty beach. It is just a breathtaking visual contrast, finding fresh drinking water mere steps from the crashing ocean.
But this isn't just a daily chore. It is an incredible surviving link to the community's history. The villagers strictly prohibit any sand removal or planting vegetation here just to protect the source. They have this deep-seated belief in the health benefits of this naturally filtered water, combined with a very strong mistrust of commercial chlorinated water, which they believe causes health issues. And even as the site faces modern threats, things like littering and a broken bridge that makes their trek actively dangerous, their collaborative resilience to sustain their families is truly awe-inspiring. They use rudimentary cloth filters, scooping the water with ladle-like equipment, and they work together in shifts from 4 a.m. all the way to midnight, just to ensure their village survives.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Recent studies show that while AI models are great at short tasks, their executive control completely nosedives when faced with long lists of distractions. That's a test humans pass easily. As we look at the immense resilience of humanity across all the stories we cover today, from Gen Z activists fighting institutional failure to women carrying water across scorching beaches, it leaves you wondering, what other incredible, resilient traits do we take for granted in ourselves? If you are preparing to tackle complex current affairs like these for your civil services exams, be sure to power up your prep with UPSC's own AI. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.